So I want to go over why you want to say no to the carnivore diet, the keto diet, the candida diet, the raw vegan diet, any of these diets that are really cutting out a macronutrient. They're cutting out a huge food group. And the reason is because our body is like a bank account, and we're all born with a certain reserve based on our genetics, based on the health of our mother, based on the toxin burden that she was exposed to, based on all of these factors. And so when we're born, we start off with this reserve. And over time, the majority of us are taking withdrawal after withdrawal after withdrawal after withdrawal. And we become depleted and we start to have health issues. And from there, we want to heal our bodies. And then we see these fad diets. And they cut out these really key nutrients. So if you're going to a carnivore diet, you are going to be cutting out fruits and vegetables and carbohydrates, and you're really losing some key nutrients there. And you're losing a lot of carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are our body's main fuel source. When we look at the mitochondrial pathway and we look at how our body turns glucose into fuel, this is how our body does things when it's in abundance. It is getting access to a lot of resources. And when we go on to something like carnivore or keto, where we're depriving our bodies of fuel, we are going to go into a survival state, a state of breakdown. And when this happens, and the same happens if you go to a vegan diet and you cut out easy to access protein, our body needs complex proteins. Yes, you can get amino acids from fruits and vegetables, but it takes exponentially more. And a lot of the bioavailability of nutrients in fruits and vegetables and legumes and grains are lowered because of the toxins like oxalates and phytic acid that really reduces our body's ability to absorb it. So we don't want to be going on either side of the pathway. And we're putting our body into a state of survival mode. We are putting our body into a state of catabolism. And although that might feel better, especially if you went from a standard American diet, eating processed foods, eating crap, to one of these stricter diets that are a lot cleaner, you're going to feel better temporarily. Oftentimes, that's one, a placebo effect because you're making changes. Two, you're cutting out all those toxins and those chemicals. And three, when you go into the state of catabolism, your dopamine levels go up, your endorphin levels go up, your body starts increasing cortisol, it's liberating resources so that you can go and find food and get back to a balanced state. And in order to heal, what we really need to do is start to rebuild the body. We want to stop making the withdrawals, and that includes not making withdrawals with our diet. So we want to lower toxins, not macronutrients. We want to fuel our body with balance. We want to give it carbs. We want to give it fat. We want to give it protein, but we want to do it from good, clean, whole food sources that we have been eating for tens of thousands of years without issues. So clean foods like well-sourced meat. Get your meat from the farm. Know your farmer. Really know your farmer. Raw milk, well-sourced eggs if you don't have a sulfur issue. Well-sourced as much as possible. It's actually a lot easier to get well-sourced meat and milk and eggs than it is to find good fruits and vegetables. But it is doable. Buy organic as much as possible, but if you can, buy locally, buy in season, and support your local farmers who are actually growing the food and you know what they're putting on their food. What is that being sprayed with? Because even organic, there are allowable organic pesticides, and a lot of those are copper based. So you want to really try to source it as best as possible. But when you are cleaning up the meat and the milk, that is going to make a huge difference. Also, you don't have to, and this is hard for a lot of people to hear because everybody is going gluten-free right now. You don't have to cut out gluten. You need to clean up the gluten. 100 years ago, nobody had issues with gluten. We've been eating it for a long time. So we want to clean it up. I eat einkorn wheat. No problem with that. If I go and eat a lot of really crappy wheat, I'm going to start to feel some inflammation. But einkorn, absolutely no issues there. So think about, instead of going on one of these fad diets, think about cleaning up your diet. Think about removing the toxins in your diet, removing the toxins in your household, removing the toxins in your water, and eating cleaner and fueling your body. Because in order to heal, it's very simple. All you need to do is slow the withdrawals. We're never going to stop them. We can't live in a bubble. So we want to really slow the withdrawals we're taking on our body. And we want to start making deposits, making more and more deposits every day. And so that is good water, that is clean food, that is doing things that you love. But really, our biggest deposits are going to be running functional labs, seeing our imbalances and deficiencies, and getting custom protocols so that we can start to rebuild the body. Because when you've gotten so depleted, you're not going to find that in food. Even if you're growing your own food in the best soil, you are so depleted that you're going to need those nutrients in higher concentrated amounts to start repairing the body and to start working on the backflow of issues. So say no to those diets. When I see people keto, carnivore, candida, it can be really scary. I see really high levels of reverse T3. So that's body inactivating thyroid hormone because it's under so much stress. I see very high cortisol levels. I see high sex hormone binding globulin. So the body is literally binding the sex hormones because it's like, whoa, we can't do reproduction right now. We need to survive. Like there's not enough food. We have to survive. We cannot reproduce. So the body is going to increase the sex hormone binding globulin. When people go on these carnivore and keto diets, I see very high levels of sulfur and ammonia, which is very toxic. I see very high levels of acidity. When we go to the keto diet and people are trying to do high fat, low carb, and then I see very high levels of oxalates because they're doing things like almond flour and almond butter and nuts and seeds. So they're increasing their oxalates. When I see people doing the raw vegan, again, increasing the oxalates. And all of this is causing more harm. So more and more withdrawals in the body. And it doesn't have to be this way. And the majority of people on these diets are not very happy. They might be conditioned to think that this is what they need to do and very attached to this diet because people have told them, and they've created a lot of fear around food because of these thought patterns. But they're normally not happy with their diet. They feel very restricted. They feel very isolated. They're not able to go out for dinner. They're not able to enjoy a meal with their family. And healing doesn't have to be this way. You can actually eat really clean, still have some treat meals, still enjoy your life, and heal your body at the same time. So always think about your body as a bank account and ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now a withdrawal or is it a deposit? And there's a lot of withdrawals we can't control. Like when we walk outside and we breathe in the air, we cannot control that. But there is a lot that we can start to minimize. And really, our diet is one that we do have a huge control over for the majority of us. And it just might take a little bit of work, a little bit of creativity, and some changes and some new habits. But it doesn't have to be isolation and depression and food phobia. That is not part of healing, because in order to heal, not only do we need to give our body tools and start to rebuild, but we're not going to get anywhere if we're in a state of fight or flight. And that can come from our thoughts. So if we're afraid of food, if we're afraid of our symptoms in the future, if we're seeing a future that we don't like, if we're really focused on our symptoms, then we're also now in a state of breakdown, because our body cannot tell the difference between a thought and a real life event. So you could be running from a tiger all day in your mind because of the fear, because of all of the anxiety around your health, around your food, around your diet. And then you get stuck in the state of catabolism, of breakdown. And so we need to change that to metabolism. We need to change it to rest and repair. And that starts by fueling your body. So if you're looking for a practitioner, you can check out my website, www.sgintegrativehealing.com. And as always, there's a lot of resources on my YouTube channel. So like and subscribe. I'm posting a lot of new videos in the next near future. And there's a lot of resources in my book, Heal Yourself.